On this episode of Lessons from the Tank, I had a chance to talk to one of the most mentally tough people I have ever had a chance to talk with. His name is Ryan Chen, and he is one of the co-founders of Neuro Gum. His experience from being paralyzed and being an elite athlete has helped him to become one of the best entrepreneurs that has ever not gotten a deal on Shark Tank. You're going to like this. Check it out. Thank you for joining me on the podcast today, Ryan. I'm really looking forward to this.
Joe, thanks for having me on.
So you are one of the founders of Neuro Gum, right? So tell us a little bit about this, because I am a caffeine freak here. So tell us a little bit more about your product.
Oh man, then I'm excited to tell you about it. Yeah, if you're a caffeine fiend, this is for you. So, my better half isn't here. He got caught up in something, but yeah, I'm one of the co-founders of Neuro, and basically we wanted to make functional gum and mints. So in a nutshell, people are always like, "What is that?" And we basically are trying to take supplements, and then put health in your pocket. So. Our original thesis was like we wanted to make an energy gum and mint, so putting in natural caffeine, which is about the equivalent, 40 milligrams, about the equivalent of like half a cup of coffee, L-theanine, B vitamins, in a piece of gum. And we really wanted to create something that wasn't energy drinks, that wasn't, energy shots or coffee. We wanted something that's more portable on the go and really fit our lifestyle. And so we sought out to do that, and we've been doing it for about 6 years now, which has been incredible.
Yeah, and you and your partner, I watched your episode. You guys are both athletes. I mean, you both have an athletic, physical training background. And so, again, my understanding is the portability, things like that, when you were talking about fitting into your lifestyle, I mean, this really does. I mean, this is really something that you guys were looking to use, not necessarily market.
Exactly. Yeah, we're looking for a product that would satisfy our needs and our problem. And when we were training, to give you a little bit of context, Kent and I, my co-founder, met in college. He was training with the Olympic Judo team at the time. I was a runner. I did martial arts at a young age. Ran nationals and state in high school, and then in college, I really wanted to switch focuses on more things that were like student council based, but. I got in a really bad snowboarding accident. So I loved skiing growing up, snowboarding, and I was actually paralyzed from the waist down. So I fell about from 35 feet, shattered my back, went through about 15 surgeries for the course of like almost 2 years.
Wow.
And it was a rough time, not just physically, but the mental side and emotional side. And as I kind of found a little bit of more, stability in my life, Kent was there from before and after. He was my roommate like that summer before my injury. I really kind of wanted to get back into racing and find sport again. And Kent was like instrumental in being able to find these supplements that he was taking to help kind of maximize his efficiency in training. And obviously, that training would translate into better performance on the field. So essentially, version 0 of Neuro was in pill form. And we were like, pills are great, but it's hard to share and have the approachability aspect. And it dawned on us when we were getting our scuba diving certification way back when now, that there had to be a better way to take energy. And that was kind of something that we knew that we wanted to take. And we were hoping that a product like that would be something else somebody else would want to take. So we found that out by launching the product on Indiegogo, and luckily we hit our goal in a few days, and we're like, wow, okay, cool. There's people out there around the country that are interested in something like this. And we're kind of like off to the races. And we built the company like kind of brick by brick, like year over year. And so a lot of lessons from start to finish.
So let me ask you a question. And one of the things that I've found with entrepreneurs is the ones that are successful are mentally tough. They have to be mentally and emotionally. There's a certain amount of trials and tribulations that come with every entrepreneurial journey.
Definitely.
Do you feel that some of the things that you went through actually helped to prepare for that? Because again, based off of your story, but then also just the again, you didn't let it slow you down, which is amazing to me. But do you feel that helped to prepare you, you know, your head for entrepreneurship?
Definitely. I think entrepreneurship is the ultimate mental endurance race. So like I was training for I was training for marathon racing and hand cycling and race chairs, and that's, it's like you have to pace yourself. You can't burn out in the beginning. You can't go too fast. You don't want to leave anything out there. But like I said, you don't want to sprint in the beginning and then crawl through the finish line. But I think there is something to say about not just giving up. And so, in terms of a lot of entrepreneurs that I've met, it took a few years even to find the product market fit, or they pivoted the business to go into something else within the product and services space, and realize that throughout the journey they realized that what they thought was going to be, the right answer was slightly different. And if you're willing to kind of keep your eyes and your ears open, you'll find that. And just kind of takes a little bit of patience. And for us, like our biggest I think hurdle was trying to educate people that a product like ours even existed. So people are like, oh, energy gum, like that sounds interesting. What is that? And most people have never tried it. And then for that, for us, is really difficult to formulate these kind of products, because a lot of these active ingredients don't taste good. They're bitter, they're chalky, and so we really had to find that like balance where we're really prioritizing um, the functional aspects of it, but then also we have to try to make it taste good. Versus pills, like you just swallow it, and then you could pack in all the active ingredients you want. So it was kind of that tricky balance, and it took us a kind of a few years going to different trade shows, conferences, talking to ingredient manufacturers, food scientists, and yeah, it was one of those things where like we had enough conviction to believe that we can get it right, and we got it after a few years.
That's I from talking to a lot of wannabe entrepreneurs or soon to be entrepreneurs, however we want to look at it.
Yeah,
That's one thing that I try to tell people is, you're not, whatever plan you have, you're not going to finish the same way. And if you're so strict with hey, this is how this is going to go, or hey, everybody's going to buy this because I think it's the greatest thing in the world, you're setting yourself up for a lot of disappointment, a lot of heartache. You have to be
yeah,
flexible. You have to be willing to pivot a little bit or pivot a lot even.
for
Um,
sure.
but you also have to have that fortitude. To your point, years of going to trade shows. That's a long time to.
It's a long time, yeah. And I think at the time, in the beginning, we still needed to pay rent, pay the bills, and I was in like my mid 20s. I like had a lot of friends, celebrating birthdays or weddings and stuff like that. I had a full-time job, so I was working at Hulu. Kent was working at Wava, which is like a subsidiary of Sony Music. Kent's an incredible creative and artist, and I wish he was here too. But he's so talented, and we both did this as like a side hustle, but the side hustle was also a full-time job. So we were balancing like what we had to do, our responsibilities, and then we had this passion project that, we were packing boxes on the weekends. We were answering customer service emails. Kent's phone number happened to be tied to the customer service line, so he would get calls at like 3, 4 a.m. because we were in West Coast from people in the East Coast. And I mean, it's part of the story that we can laugh at now, but at the time it was like, all right, like we got to do what we got to do. Like, we got to put in the work, and we didn't have enough money to hire a fulfillment center, so we were the fulfillment center. And Kent's apartment was like the storage unit, and floor to ceiling boxes of gum. I remember the first shipment that we got came in this truck, and I'm sure the truck driver was confused because he's usually used to a loading dock, and proper fulfillment center was like dropping it off at an apartment building in the middle of downtown LA. And so, we have a few laughs about that now, but that really kind of gave us this foundation of what it takes, and kind of the sacrifices that you have to make. And I think it prepared us a lot for, like, I guess the success that we saw later on, where they were small successes, right? Like in hiring a customer service agent, um, hiring multiple fulfillment centers around the country, um, automating a lot of the reporting and automating a lot of the inventory checks. Like there's little things like that that we now take for granted, but um, I think it came from definitely like some humble beginnings, to say the least. But it was fun. I mean, that those are the stories that you remember.
They are. You know, you turn around and you're like, oh my goodness, like we're a real company now. Like we're not
It
taking it
happens
up
so
on the
fast.
elevator up to the apartment anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, and it feels like a long time while you're in it, and then I mean it just goes by so fast. I mean, for me, time is just this like crazy illusion. It just moves too fast sometimes. So I can't believe, yeah, we crossed like that 6 year mark where we shipped out our OG packaging in these like little like brown carton boxes that we would tape together and print out the shipping labels. Many times where we broke that shipping label printer because it was acting up, and we try to fiddle it around, and um, yeah,
Yeah, and you're like,
that's right.
this has to work. Like we have to get these out. Like,
We have to get them out.
oh man, takes me back. And again, we still have growing pains. I'm sure you guys do too. And
We still, yeah,
yeah,
we still go through that.
and in 5 years you'll look back and be like, oh, remember 5 years ago how we thought we had it all figured out, and now look where we're at. So
Absolutely.
um, so let's talk about Shark Tank for a little bit. First of all, season 11, episode 9, I believe, right? So if people want to
19?
check it out, or
9,
19,
19?
not 9, 19, season 11, episode 19. So you guys went on. You guys had a fantastic pitch. I really
Thank
thought
you.
that it was great, and you had actually a lot of interest from the Sharks, but no deal came out. And
Yeah.
I was really impressed with your willingness to say no. That is rare on Shark Tank. It really,
Yeah,
really
it was
is.
tough. I think in the moment, in the pressure, we definitely were tempted to say yes, but we definitely had a number in mind that we couldn't get lower, just because like I mentioned on the segment, we had existing investors, and it would have kind of wiped them on the cap table. And all in all, that was an incredible experience. We got two offers, one from Kevin, one from Robert, and what's crazy is like what you see on TV is like you're there for like what, hour 45 minutes. They cut it down to like 7 8 minutes. And there's so much talk and so many questions that don't actually get aired, but um, within like a relatively short amount of time, hour 40 45 minutes, you really get to know some of the personalities, kind of the quirks of the Sharks, and they asked really solid questions, and I think we did the best that we could to answer all of them. And so luckily we got, two offers. We actually became friends with Daniel Lubetsky, who is one of the guest Sharks,
Hmm.
who is the founder of Kind Bar. And to be honest, like one of the kindest human beings. Like he really represents that brand. And I was a fan of the brand before, but after getting to know him and just seeing like where his heart is at, he's just incredible human being, someone that we really look up to. And just shout out to Daniel. During COVID, he created this amazing organization called Frontline Impact Initiative. And just like on the side note, he was donating millions of units of Kind bars to doctors and nurses all around the country, like all like the EMTs, all the people on the front lines. And he got on board a lot of really big brands like L'Oreal and Justin's Peanut Butter. We were like probably the smallest brand on there, but it's like 30 plus brands, and we were donating what we could to different hospitals that were getting impacted. And yeah, just kudos and props to him for creating that, and helping out where he can. It was really cool to be part of that. But that was one of the coolest outcomes of Shark Tank, was to be able to stay in contact with him. But I mean, while you're in the tank, I mean, probably the most nervous I've ever been in my life, right? Like you get one shot at this. Um, if you mess up in front of a group of friends or investors, it's behind mostly closed doors, but this is all filmed, and you're mic'd up. Every action is being like zoomed in on. But it's surprising how quickly you kind of forget that. Like they do such a good job of like making you feel like you're just in a room, even though you're in this giant studio space with like, I don't know, 30, 40 foot walls, and there's like 100 crew members behind them with sound and cameras and everything like that. And so you definitely know that you remember that experience. But kind of going back to kind of holding true, like we knew what we were gonna go in for, and we wanted to do the best pitch that we could, and then get the floor offer, and if we didn't get it, we were willing to step away from that. And yeah, it was tough. We were nervous that they weren't going to air our section. We actually had Apollo Ono, who did a whole like shout out section for us that didn't air. Um, and yeah, it went by so quick. I can't. It's like a speaking of time being an illusion, that was a total like blur.
Well, and I'm sure you're like me. You do a lot of interviews, you do a lot of speaking, all that because of Shark Tank, and the people you talk to, it's almost impossible to try to describe the experience of Shark Tank, of walking down that hall, the experience leading up to it, but then
Yeah,
the time that you're there in front of them, trying to forget about the cameras, trying to forget about the millions of people that will be watching, and
that's crazy.
legitimately trying to make a good deal as well, because
Hmm.
these people are the sharks are legitimately trying to make a good deal. They're not doing it for TV. They are,
Yeah.
but they're not.
Hmm.
They're taking notes. They're listening. They're asking pertinent questions. Um,
It's one of the coolest shows. I mean, I was a
it
fan
is.
before being able to have the opportunity to get on. And, um, I mean, it's really cool that like one segment could change the trajectory of your career and your company. And yeah, it's. I mean, the premise is incredible. I mean, it's been. I think the original one was in like Japan or Korea. I think it was called Dragon's Den.
Dragon's Den. It was.
There's one in Canada. I
Mhm.
mean, there's so many like variations of it, but the same concept. And it just shows you that there's entrepreneurs and ideas all around the world, and it's cool that there's a platform like Shark Tank or Dragon's Den that exists to try to make that a possibility. I think it's a beautiful thing. I think it's incredible.
I do too. It's this one of my team members called it the Super Bowl of small business, and there's a lot of
Yeah,
truth to that. There really is.
definitely.
But I remember the first interview that I did, and the person asked, "Well, why didn't you do this, or why didn't you say this?" I'm like, "Guys, listen, like you're in
Yeah,
there for a lot longer. Like what you see on TV is a dramatization of what actually happened in the room."
I think it's like, I mean, what is it? Is it really 7 minutes, 10 minutes? I don't even
My
remember.
segment, I was in there for like 2.5 hours,
That's a
and
long time.
yeah, it was a long time. And then I want to say my segment was like 12. It kind of ranges from 7 minutes. It just depends on how
Yeah.
much time they had in that episode and things like that.
Yeah,
But
that's a long time to be in there. And props to the Sharks too, because like they're seeing like 8 to 10 companies a day, so
I
they're
know.
they're shooting like you're in and out within like an hour and a half, 2.5 hours, but they're there for like 12-hour plus days, and like to have that's like mental endurance too, to like be able to kind of stay engaged and not tired is, yeah, it's tricky for
Yeah,
sure.
and they also, they have to stay in their little characters too. And again, I know that Mr. Wonderful is Mr. Wonderful, you know what I mean? But he also plays a little bit of a character.
He does. He's actually a really nice guy.
He is. That's what I tell
I
people.
think he
I'm
was
like,
one of the nicest people on the show. But he doesn't, yeah, his quote unquote character doesn't come off that way. But actually, out of most of the sharks, he was, I'd say, yeah, the nicer one of the nicest ones.
yeah, and really engaging. Again, you
Yeah.
can tell when he's making comments for the cameras that
Yeah. Little taglines here and there.
like, oh, this is
Definitely.
going to be a soundbite,
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
so so you didn't get a deal, right? So you didn't get a deal, which again I know is probably disappointing, coming out of it. But you guys also had
We
a
were okay with that.
fantastic
Yeah.
business though, going
Yeah.
into it, and I assume again from everything that I see that you guys are continuing to really do amazing things. How's it
Yeah.
been since
I
last
mean,
year?
even after Shark Tank, we doubled the business from the year before, and I think, I mean, Shark Tank did have definitely an impact, but I mean, we had a lot of really cool, kind of like opportunities after that. So we were lucky to be featured on Joe Rogan like 12 times. Like he's just organically mentioned the business. We had some celebrities do some like shout outs for us for free, and um, obviously Shark Tank was a huge component, but we had a lot of things that supplemented that and complemented that. So, um, we got into Whole Foods, which was like a really cool opportunity, like March of this year. So basically a
Wow,
year after we
congrats.
had
That's
aired. Yeah,
that's great.
thank you. So there's like a lot of things that changed and evolved in the business, like post Shark Tank. And I think a lot of people like who watch it live, they're getting a snippet, but oftentimes like it's recorded like 6 months or something before.
Right.
So a lot of things can happen in the 6 months. And often like people are watching reruns or something years after, and I'm sure the business has evolved so much from the time that people actually watch the show. So things to keep in mind. And for me too, it's cool to see something and go back on it. It's almost like a journal entry. It's like a snapshot in time of this is the day we recorded it. These were the things that we talked about, and this was where we're at in business. So it is a really cool, I don't know, I guess a journal entry
Yeah.
and a snapshot in time of where the business was. So it'd be really cool for, I don't know, Kent and I one day when we're like really old to look back on it and watch it and be like, man, remember that? Like, remember that time and remember those struggles. I'm sure there's gonna be different struggles as the company continues to grow and evolve, but um, yeah, all in all, it's just a mind-blowing experience.
So, what are some of the things you guys are dealing with now? I mean,
Yeah,
again, with your continued growth. I mean, are you guys having, any big challenges? I'm sure COVID is a challenge for
for
everybody,
sure.
right now. But is
Yeah,
there anything that you guys are beating your head up against the wall currently?
I think so. We actually shot the show September of 2019, and then we aired April of 2020. So this whole time, like, we're prepping, holiday seasons, Q4 and then Q1, and then the world shut down in like March of 2020. So
Right.
like our viewing party was a big Zoom party, and we had all of our friends and family like kind of tuning in live, and it was just such a crazy time because people had so much uncertainty and
Hmm.
like fear. I think uncertainty was like, the main thing, but what was going on with supply chain and all that stuff from like a business standpoint, going into the office, company culture, mental health was a really big one, making sure our employees are how they're doing, especially with, working from home and being able to not go out and see like loved ones. There was just like it was a struggle from kind of like a management perspective to see every that everyone was doing okay. And as the year went on and we just continued to work remote, vaccines started to get rolled out. It was, the other challenges like from a business standpoint where, okay, like we're having trouble getting product in, from overseas, and shipping logistics have been crazy, especially for a product business like ours. Um, so just navigating through that was wild, and I can't believe we're a year and a half in from like kind of that full lockdown. I feel like so much has happened, um, and a year and a half of a business that's, for us is a pretty big percentage of time. But I know a lot of companies that were just starting out or even launched during COVID.
Right.
So I think going back to that mental fortitude, it shows that there's so much resilience that can go on despite like probably one of the most crazy times that any of us have lived through, right? Like my parents have never even seen something like this, and they were generation immigrants from China to Japan, Japan here, and my sister and I were born, and they've seen a lot of crazy stuff in their lives, and they're like, we've never seen some global impact like this. And so for the businesses that have got hit so hard, like, and had to fight through that, it was heartbreaking to see some businesses close, unfortunately, and other ones kind of thrive through it, and other ones are just like making it, scraping by. It gives me a lot of um, just like hope and respect for like all the people that were trying to make it work.
Yeah, it has been. Yeah, if you're an entrepreneur during this time, my goodness, prayers to you because
It was crazy, yeah.
it is absolutely nuts. But so so if somebody wants to try out some Neuro Gum or some Neuro Mints, what's the best place? I know you're in a bunch of retailers now, but can they go
Mhm.
online, Amazon? What's the best place of getting their
Yeah,
hands
I
on
mean,
some?
the best place that we can provide it is through our website. So just www.getneuro.com. And we'll definitely throw in like, for all the listeners, like, listening lessons from the tank, we'll throw in like a coupon code. So like, anybody who wants to try it, there'll be a nice discount there. But you can find us on Amazon, Walmart.com, and on the retail side of things, like about 5,000, 6,000 CVS stores. They're so big that they don't really even give us a final number. I think it's like somewhere around like 5,500. Um, we're in, a couple hundred college campuses, mom and pop pharmacies, gyms all around the country. But yeah, online's still a strong presence for us, but um, the future is to try to continue to be in more retail spots. So Walmart and convenience stores, corner markets, all those things.
So the first time you saw your product in a retail store, how did that feel? 'Cause we just had it happen. So we
Oh
launched
wow,
in Home
congrats.
Depot and they put
Amazing.
displays up. And
That's huge.
I was
So
like,
first retail
yeah. So
in
we
that's a big account.
yeah, we mainly sell wholesale, and then Home Depot picked us up online. But then, like, they finally started putting displays in the stores. I'm like, oh my goodness, like this is my company in a
It's
Home
so
Depot. Like that's crazy,
yeah.
So, but what was it like for you? For you, I mean, did you guys, were you walking down the aisles of CVS and you were like, oh, there it is, or
Yeah, I remember I was in New York when we were first like launching. We went out to Woonsocket, Rhode Island, which is like CVS's headquarters, which is, I mean, this beautiful town that's like just built around CVS. And we were coming down, and then we were in New York, and we tried to hit up on just like Sixth, just going up to like all these CVS's trying to check in and see it. And half of them had them up like properly displayed. Other half like didn't have the full display up like correctly because there was a new section called Memory and Focus, and we were just so excited to be part of that. To be able to see your product in the wild. And I think for us, we started off as direct to consumer, and there's a totally different experience, right? Like the discovery aspect is so different. People can stumble upon it on Google, but it's usually like the intent to buy from like they hear it from, hear it on a show or a podcast or see it on an ad. But to see it in the wild is just, yeah, it's humbling, it's cool, it's exciting. And then you also think about like all the work that you have to do to make sure that you stay there in the stores and it does well. So, your brain's always kind of churning gears and thinking about what's next. At least for me, I wanted to get into more. It was kind of a small dose of what else is there to come.
So just to again, I have no idea what the answer is to this, but did you buy your product at a CVS? Have you ever like done that?
Oh,
Just to...
absolutely, all the time. I'll go in and I'll buy it and then hand it out to like the employees or just like customers in line. So like I'll like put on my like sales pitch and then I'll be like, hey guys, have you heard of this? And they're like, it's energy gum, and I'll be like talking to, I don't know, an employee or a customer. They're like, oh no, that sounds really interesting. And then I was just like, oh yeah, take it. It's on me. Like,
That's great.
and so yeah, I'll do that every now and then. Whenever I pop in, I'll try to hand them out.
That's fantastic. Yeah,
Have you done that?
yeah, we ordered. Well, we wanted to see what the experience was like. At least that's what I'm telling myself. But we wanted to see. So we ordered through HomeDepot.com. Just to
Cool.
kind of like see how the circle went with everything. But yeah, it's just again, it's just one of those lines in the sand where you're like, man, retail. That's new. That's something fantastic. So good for you
Retail's a
guys.
different beast.
It
Yeah.
is.
For anybody who's like listening, yeah, you'll learn a lot.
Yeah. And as much as the digital side of things, Amazon, online, there's just still something about walking to the stores and seeing your product and also selling your product physically in the stores there's something different about it. There really is.
Yeah, the experience is completely different.
Yeah. So, well, anyway, Ryan, man, this has been a great conversation. I really appreciate your
been fun.
time.
Thanks, Joe.
I wish you guys the best. Hopefully, things will continue to grow, and we'll just, we'll see you guys everywhere. Walgreens, CVS, everywhere.
Hopefully, yeah, likewise. Congrats to you guys too on the Home Depot thing, and all the best.
I appreciate it. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Lessons from the Tank. If you got value from today's podcast, we encourage you to subscribe to the podcast so you're notified when a new episode is posted. If you'd like to support our podcast, we encourage you to review it and share it with a friend. Thank you, and we'll see you on the next episode.